MSU on three. 1, 2, 3.
MSU.
Hi everybody, Stuart Jolley along with Lion head football coach Tim Clifton. Coach, you could not have asked for a better first half of action on a senior day here at Mars Hill. Last Saturday against the Bulldogs of Wingate University. And if you take away the second half, it was great.
Well, we came out the second half, we got the onside kick.
Well, and I looked at 5 times they scored in the second half. 5 times they scored. All of those 5 score, a little bit more than that, the 5 of their scores in the second half, 2 minutes or less. I mean, it's like they were in the 2-minute drill all the way through.
And they had great field position because we went for it on 4th down several times, gave great field position. Then we went onside kick, got it, we were offsides, gave them great field position. And we ended up, you know, one of the coaches, when we were talking, do we go for it or whatever, you know, the question was, are we here to try to win it, or are we just here to try to keep the score down? And, you know, we kept trying to score, and when you do that, you're going to put your defense in a bind, and they're going to get great field position, and we gave them great field position. And we had a fumble that set up a score early in the second half, but, you know, it's when you finish the game, the first thing Joe Wright says, well, we just scared the offense, so we figured we can't let y'all get where y'all can get within striking distance. So, you know, I thought we played extremely hard the whole game. We just ran out of gas, and you can't. You play a team that's ranked, that's really good. If you go for the win after you get behind, it's going that score's going to get further. Now we could have just held on to the ball, tried to run it, and they would have let us run it gladly, and it could have been a lot closer game. But we went into the game to win it. We didn't go into the game to try to say, well, we can keep it respectful. And you know, we had an opportunity at halftime to really be up more than 22 to, I think it was, what was it?
22-16.
Yeah, we had a score off the board where, you know, it could have been 29-9. And that's probably what it should have been in the first half, was 29-9. But they're a good football team. They're in the playoffs for a reason, you know. And we ended up Saturday. We had 4 starters out on defense, and yet I thought we couldn't have played any better on defense in the first half than we played. But when you're going for it constantly and giving them great field position, they don't need a whole lot of help. Best thing to do is kick them to the 4 or 5, you know, or inside the 10. But we went in, and I thought our kids played hard. And you know, this was a fun football team to coach. It really was. I thought they played hard all year. They had some injuries and some spots that hurt us, but I really thought it was and I know, I mean, sometimes in coaching, you go, man, be glad, you know. But this was one that I think the kids wanted to continue to play, and we wanted to continue to coach. And I think if you brought those guys in, they would, and you said, well, we got a game, we scheduled a game, they'd go get ready to play. It was just a lot of, and I thought our seniors did a great job of working every day and coming to work every day. And it was really a sad day after the game to go and get a picture with the seniors and to go and visit with them after the game. And some of them, I didn't think they were going to ever leave the field, you know. And then to go in the locker room after the game, talk to each senior and go by and see them all. That was really a sad day, you know, to watch some of those guys and really watch all of them get out of here. It was really a tough day. Saturday afternoon about 5:30, and then today I go down to the locker room about 11:30, and there's 3 of them in there, and they look like lost puppies. They look like they were lost, and
the routine has changed for the rest of the life.
Yeah, so what y'all doing down here? Waiting to go to class, coach. You know, we ain't got nothing else to do now. There ain't no practice, and you know, I'm going, well, why y'all in the locker room? Well, we we just came by and
Comfort zone.
yeah, it was Rucker, Harbison, and Ferguson. They all three right there together. They look like puppies that just lost their best friends, you know, or lost their mom. So it was tough to watch those guys leave here.
I talked to some of the Wingate faithful after the game, and the common comment from them was, we didn't expect it to be that close at all, you know. And they said, and then the other part of that was, you guys got some really first-class young people.
Yeah.
And I thought those are, sure, rather be on the other end of the scoreboard,
Yeah.
but to be on where we were on the scoreboard and to have that set of our athletes reflects, as we've said all season long, that reflects on them, reflects on their family, it reflects on this university, it reflects on what your coaching staff has done. Because at no point during this season did they take the foot off the accelerator, really. It was like, we're going to be in this, be in this, be in this. And the thing that got, I was looking back at some of the notes I'd made for our shows throughout the season, and the common theme was our kind of first stringers can match up, second stringers can match up, except we don't have as many.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, and then when you get down to your threes and fours, like, where are they? Because the depth just, it kept getting us in some really close games, because our guys had left it all on the field, to borrow probably a much overused term, but the depth difference was the key in so many of our contests.
Yeah, we played a lot of freshmen, and we had some kids get hurt throughout the year, so that hurts you to death. And so then you got to play some freshmen and go from there, which we did. And but I think in the fourth quarter is where that depth shows. Mm-hmm. You start showing midway through the third, then it really shows in the fourth. And Joe, I'm proud of our guys. I thought we played hard. I thought, as I told them yesterday as a team, I thought they gave us effort. I thought we started in January to make this thing go forward, and we did. And now the group that's going to be here next year, now they got to take the next step. And I think they're up for the challenge to take the next step and to get us, you know, instead of being in the middle of the pack in the conference where, you know, we're sitting right in the middle, maybe there's three of us sitting in the middle. So, but now their goal should be get over it and get to the top and instead of being that middle pack, being that top pack. And I think the group coming back, I think that's very important to them. I think it was very important to the group we just had. And I think they opened the door for the group that's coming next year.
So I think that's indeed the case. In looking at some specific numbers in the game on Saturday, Craig Rucker, familiar name around here, set another Mars Hill and South Atlantic Conference record in career receiving yards, racked up 14 receptions, 150 yards. Jimmy Razua, career high 434, 2 touchdowns. He went 30 of 57 on the afternoon. Gilbert Johnson, 3 passes. 1 for a touchdown, 129 yards. Tyler Ferguson, again, a familiar name all season long, caught 2 passes on day 1 for a touchdown. Carl Robert Joe, 10 tackles, and Landon Honeycutt with 9. So some names that sadly we won't be calling anymore and talking about in the coaching show, but also, as you said, there's some names that will be back and will add to that and add to that strength for seasons to come.
Yeah, I think looking at the core yesterday, I think it's going to be a really good group and a really fun group to coach. That'll be here next year. And but I thought our seniors, I mean, what they came into the season with and how they worked was phenomenal. And you know, I think congrats goes out to Rucker for what he did this year and the things that he accomplished in his career.
Looking at what Coach alluded to earlier in terms of how things wrapped up in the South Atlantic during the regular season, Lenore Ryan 8-0, Wingate 7-1, Carson-Newman 6-2, and then you get that train wreck for fourth place with Mars Hill 4-4, Newberry 4-4, and Tusculum 4-4. Limestone 2-6, UVA Wise 1-7, and a very unfamiliar spot for the Indians Catawba as they are 0-8. Now looking at that and kind of tell you how good this league is and how close we were, LR, Wingate, and Carson-Newman, all nationally ranked. They're all playing this weekend. And you look back through the season, I think it's still one of the closest games LR had all season long was at the hands of Mars Hill.
Yeah, I just think, we like I told him yesterday, we're close, and we want to do better than close. And that's where we're headed. And I think this group, with what, being in the middle now, I think that's going to propel them to really work extremely hard to get to the next step. And the challenge is to be in the mix in November. That's your challenge. And you always want to be in the mix. You want to play in November for something. And every game in November we will play for something. So I think that's where you want to be, and that's what you want to accomplish, is to put yourself into that time period and know that you are playing for something at that time.
Some names getting conference recognition, and we'll talk in detail about some of them here. 2019 South Conference Football All-Conference Award winners. First team offense, Craig Rucker. Second team offense, Travis James. Defensive Freshman of the Year, Dexter Fitzpatrick. Other season records, passing yards per game, Jimmy Urzua. Total offense per game, Jimmy Urzua. Receptions per game, Craig Rucker. Reception yards per game, Craig Rucker. Scoring average, Craig Rucker. And team passing offense, Mars Hill. That's not bad. We want more.
No, I mean, it's for Rucker to accomplish what he accomplished, I think is extremely hard. I think the one thing about being a receiver, people can go out there and hold you and grab you and pull on you and everything. And I think to accomplish what he did, and then I think Jimmy's on the right track. One thing we got to do is we got to cut our turnover margin. Then the other thing is we've got to find a run game. We've got to get a run game where we can shorten the game, and that's going to be one of our major goals this spring, is to get much better in the run game. And Travis James had a great career here. He had a great career playing in the offensive line for us, and was a heck of a player, and deserved all conference. And then Dexter Fitzpatrick as freshman defense player of the year. I think that was one. I think that was definitely, and our vote was obvious, but you never know going into voting. And I think the difference, the way we do things in football is we all sit at the table and we all vote and talk about our kids, our young men, and then we all vote looking at each other and sign the ballot. And so how to, if there's any confusion there, you can always talk about things. And I think we do it the best way we can do it. And as every coach in the league, I thought we had 2 or 3 more that should have that opportunity. But that's how it falls, And
how much, talking about that, how much does it affect whether a athlete makes the cut, so to speak, for all conference selection? How much does the overall win-loss record of the team affect that?
Well, I think it plays in sometimes. I think it plays in when if 2 kids are, say, equal for a conference player of the year, or let's just say offensive player of the year, and they're both sort of equal and coaches are trying to vote. I think if a team, wins 10 and a team wins 2, I think there's going to be a vote, for that guy that maybe was on a team that won 10. I think that's comes into play sometimes. I think that sometimes stats don't always come completely into play. I think, some guys, I can tell you some guys we look at it, on offense, and the guy over there scares us to death. Man, we better know where he is, we better block him, we better know this and that. And he might be second team all conference. But to us that week, he was the guy. Same way on offense. I mean, when we're on defense, we can say, man, that running back right there, he scares us. And he might not be all conference because there's so many good running backs in the league. But in our book, that one, is really, really, really good. I think it's just, and then when you add, like this year, I think it was, when you add Limestone and Wise in the mix, and now you're voting, there's a lot more names in that now. So now I think it's going to be, as the years go, maybe a little bit harder to make it because
it's not the old SAC 8 that
no, that's right, it's not 8 teams anymore. And so, but I think we do it the right way. Do coaches miss on it? Yeah, I mean, we miss on it. Everybody can't make it. But I think we do it the best way you can do it. And but I'm happy that Craig was the offensive player of the year, and I think that's a great honor for him, and I think it's a great honor for Fitzpatrick to be freshman of the year. We've had much of those over the years, and he's in, he's in a really good circle there because Abdullah was a freshman year, David Castell was a freshman of the year.
That's good coach.
Good guys were freshman of the year, and so we've had a lot of those guys over the year that were freshmen of the year, and so for him to be in that is really, I think, an honor for him. But I thought if you look at it, you go, man, that's a pretty good group of players.
Absolutely, and we kind of gave you the 10,000-foot view on Craig Rucker. Here's what it breaks down to officially for the year. Finished the season ranked first in the league in the following categories: touchdowns 14, receiving yards 1,325, all-purpose yards 1,643, receiving yards per game 120.5, total receptions 97. He is ranked in the top 5 Division II in reception yards per game, coming in at number 5. Receiving yards per game, he's ranked number 3 during the regular season. Receptions per game, number 2, and receiving touchdowns, number 7. So in all those categories, top 10. And of course, throughout the season, he set South Atlantic Conference records: touchdowns, scoring of 43, receiving yards 4,320, and all that kind of started off because we started talking about it when he was the offensive player of the week, recognized by the league office and AstroTurf and their sponsorship. So a good year for that young man, good year for a lot of our athletes, and again, as I've said so many times, and it's not flippantly or anything, we have really good gentlemen under those helmets out there on the field, and it's because we have really good gentlemen in these coaching seats and under the headsets on a Saturday afternoon. We'll be back and talk with more coaches right after this.
I just did not have a lot of stability.
I was facing foreclosure.
Not working at all, didn't have any money.
I could not go to school and work, so I found Mars Hill.
The experience here has been so wonderful.
It's been amazing.
I was able to have the full-time hours without the full-time load.
They are just incredibly supportive.
And Mars Hill is very affordable.
Mars Hill University Adult and Graduate Studies, education that moves mountains.
I will be the first in my family to graduate with my bachelor's degree.
Hi everybody, welcome back to our second portion of the Tim Clifton Coaches Show, final show of the 2019 football season. Hard to believe we're already at that point. Joe Hillin, Thomas Reese, there's some of the guys under the headsets and down on the field that you'll see at various times throughout the season if you follow the Mountain Lions. Gentlemen, the season is done. We've worked our way through the calendar. All the games checked off the list. It's time to sit back and relax. There's somebody out there that believes that. That's not the case at all for football coaches, is it? Thomas, tell us about it.
Not unless you want to get beat, certainly not. To me, I think you even got to turn it up a little bit, this time of year. It's a lot more traveling. You're going to be on the road a lot, obviously recruiting, and really our coaching staff will really be hitting the road a lot after Thanksgiving, that first week out. And then we'll be scattered throughout the Southeast and going out and try to find the next group of lines to come through here and get us to where we want to be. And it takes a lot of hard work. Thing I always say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. A lot of the recruitment for this class of 2020 is started a year ago, and we're trying to get to the finish line that first week of February on signing day, and it takes a lot of work, and we got obviously a great staff that are really dedicated to recruiting and excited to get started here next few weeks.
So Joe, Mars Hill guy, Thomas, Wingate guy. So familiar with the South Atlantic Conference. When you gentlemen are going out on the recruiting trail, I'll toss this one at you. Do you find you have to bring folks up to speed on the South Atlantic Conference, or is it one of those things, yes, we've got 3 teams in the Division II playoffs, people already know about the South Atlantic Conference?
I feel a little bit of both. I feel like some people, you bring up Mars Hill and they're questioning, what conference is in, and I start speaking about it, and it's, oh yeah, and then you get some guys, you get farther down into certain parts of Georgia, and other guys you speak to on social media from out west, and they don't have any clue, and you kind of fill them in. But I would say for the most part, me and Thomas are in Georgia. Most people are up to date with the West Georgias of the world and the Palasas, which are in the Gulf South. Then you start talking about the Wingates, LR, the Mars Hills, and I think it's up to speed now. A lot of people know our conference, the teams in the playoffs year in and year out. So I think conference speaks for itself a lot. So that's good for us on the road. But there are times that you have to bring people to speed. South Atlantic Conference, mention some teams, where we're located. I mean, be amazed by how many people have never been to North Carolina speaking to them, but it's still out there. So most part, it's pretty well known. I feel like our conference does a really good job for representing ourselves, trying to help that a little bit, and then the teams, like I said, year in, year out, playoff teams that compete national level. So
very good. Thomas, you're recruiting coordinator.
Yeah.
Big title.
Yeah.
Like a lot of things. Big title, lots of responsibility. They don't give you any extra time to do it. It just has to take place. Let folks know, because most people probably don't. Now, when you gentlemen sit down and you figure out recruiting territories and all that, is it a matter of, okay, we're going to give Joe Hillin this part of the world because he knows more fast food restaurants that'll keep us on budget, or is it a matter of, okay, I grew up in this territory, I know a lot of coaches, or hey, I really don't care, send me wherever. How does that work? I've always wondered, how do you divide that up?
Right. Well, I'll tell you, if you can find the good places to eat, and kind
we'll take that.
Take notes and know that for the future, that's obviously a plus. But, really, we try to get together and we try to put guys in areas that they're comfortable with, whether they're from there, they've coached there before, they're familiar with, the high school coaches in that area. Just like Joe said, both Joe and I are in Georgia a lot, and part of the reason was because I spent 4 years coaching in the state at the college and high school level. Joe obviously has roots down there playing in high school, so he knows a lot of people down there. So we spend a lot of our time there just because being familiar with the state. And I think you gotta have guys with an idea of where where things are at in their territory to give them a chance. And Coach Barnett is really familiar with the Florida area. He's been down there for a long time. He handles a lot of that area down there for us. And Coach Fife is from the eastern part of the state, so he handles that area. And Coach Goodwin's kind of from the Catawba Valley area down there in the middle part of the state, and he does a lot of that. So, and then again, Coach Surratt's a South Carolina guy, and he handles a lot of that area as well. So you got guys a little bit everywhere, and where they're comfortable, and you try to make that transition as easy as possible. Like if you have a new staff member come in, you want to get him where he knows guys and where he's comfortable. things like that as far as we organize that stuff.
You had mentioned it before, and Joe, you mentioned it before we talked back with Thomas. You talked about social media. There are age differences here. You came through social media like it is now. It's everywhere. It's in all aspects of life. When you were at Wingate, it was still infancy probably in terms of use with recruiting and things. When I was in college, social media was people sitting around drinking sweet tea, looking at the newspaper. I mean, that was social media. So things have changed. How does social media in all of its various forms, how is that a good thing for coaches? And how is that a challenge for coaches?
That's a good question. There's actually, like you said, there's challenges and there's positives here. Positive for me on the recruiting side of things is I can't get to every school in Georgia. It's impossible, not with our staff. I mean, the way it works out and the time we have recruiting, it's not possible. So maybe finding out about kids earlier, finding, what's going on academically with and that type, very, very beneficial. And as well as my junior college kids out west, I can find out anything in no time with social media, who offers, where that is, and, how they're doing. Flip side of that, negative, I get on there, I think I find a gym somewhere, and next thing you know, on social media, he puts out he has a Marcel offer. Mm-hmm. Well, now that Marcel offer turns into a Lenora and all these other schools offer. I'm not saying that they're piggybacking that offer, but at the same time, it's
everybody keeps it on.
There's no low key. I mean, other than word of mouth and how's it going, and now it's a public game. Everybody knows what's going on in that kid's recruiting world without talking about it. So you know where you stand going into it. So I guess that can be used as a negative and a positive for us. But I like it, honestly. I enjoy it. It's definitely changed the game recruiting wise and changed the game of football as a whole. But I think the positives for me, they outweigh it because I know how to use social media and I know how to navigate through a lot of that stuff. But I think Coach Reese would say the same thing. It's very helpful in what we do, but I can see both sides. So.
Okay. Thomas, is it one of those things, and I'll play the naive fan up in the stands, is it one of those things, you've got hashtag please recruit me, or, are there sort of like traditional places one goes on social media to follow in general that gives like the 10,000 foot view of who's out there? Well, it may be websites or whatever too. Or is it, how does that work out? Because a lot of folks, like, well, let's face it, it all used to be word of mouth.
Right.
Which wasn't a real problem because, somebody found out, hey, this kid's going to Mars Hill and Newberry's talking that, I don't know how well you had enough time to get on the phone and talk to the kid. Now it's boing, it's out there. So how does that work? I mean, what are kind of the various avenues?
Well, as far as finding kids and things on Twitter, I think, a lot of times to me, I'm still, I go back to saying we're going to find out most of the information through their high school coach. And that's, that's where we're going to gain 90% of our information, whether it's academically, whether it's about their character, home life, financially, with their family. We're going to go through their high school coach and do our research. And obviously the social media thing, you got to have it today. The way kids are and how they use it. It's a great tool, and I follow so many guys that I've either played with or coached against that are coaching high school football or coaches that I've been through their school for however many years now that I'm connected with on there. A lot of coaches today in high school football, I think high school coaches in general do a fantastic job of promoting their kids. There's so many different ways to do it now versus how it was 20, 25 years ago. They can put a highlight video on Twitter and it can be seen by however many sets of eyes within 5 minutes. And I think that's awesome. And, obviously, doing email and sending things out and prospect list and recruiting fairs and all kinds of things. I think there's a lot of resources today that I feel like that it's pretty easy to be found if you're a high school kid and you're a high school player out there making plays.
From just an in general recruiting standpoint, and both of you chime in on this, when you have the Craig Ruckers of the world get, top recognition, you've got the Jonas Randolphs that came through that had the Harlan Hill Trophy. Does that make it kind of automatically easier to recruit to Mars Hill, or is it one of those things that folks are just recruited by so many different schools, it doesn't have the effect that it used to? What do you think, dude?
I think once again, a little bit of both. Becomes a huge benefit in the fact that I can put out there Craig Rucker, first team all conference, offensive player of the year, one of my own, Travis James, offensive lineman, second team all conference. It's great, but at the same time, like you said, now you're going to have all these Craig Ruckers that, I am the next Craig Rucker, which is great, I love it. But at the same time, you have those kids that are, like you said, over-recruited by everybody else, and it's so broad now that, y'all were talking about earlier with Coach, about our conference is growing, so now we have the spectrum of all conference kids have grown between 10 teams now, so everybody's recruiting, everybody's on the road, everybody's out there looking for the same cats. We want the cats that can play there, they want the cats that can play there, so it's, at the end of the day, it helps, but I think that you're back to the point where it's so spread out now that everybody's getting recruited. It helps, but it's not a deal breaker.
It's not as big as it would have been when we were the old South Atlantic SAC conference.
Correct. I think it was much larger, much huge deal then, because you're talking about social media not being around. You're coming on campus and you're seeing this Harlan Hill Trophy, you're seeing a locker, but now you're coming on campus and you're seeing this beautiful building, a locker, but all these other universities have something that's similar, and it's things they can stand on as well. So it's not as much of a big deal as I would say anymore, but still helpful, but not as much of a big deal. Thomas would think. But
Joe gave me a good launch on this one. We'll kind of work it in with that answer as well. He mentioned this building.
Right.
Surely to goodness, it's made it a little bit easier to hit the trail and say, oh, and by the way, we have this.
Of course, yeah, no question. I mean, having this new building has opened up a lot of doors for us, and the exciting part, myself and Joe have been talking about it the last couple of weeks, the exciting part is this will be the first year that we've hosted official visit weekends with our new building here.
Instead of saying, here's what it's going to look like.
So we're sitting here trying to put it, obviously I try to bounce ideas off the coaches and the guys that are on staff here and try to get put together a plan. It's going to be really different than what we've done before, just because we're going to be more in a central location. We're not going to be spread out over campus as much. And it's just really exciting. We got a place to feed the guys. We got a place to, come in and have all kinds of stuff going on. And it's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to that first weekend in January, or the first official weekend in January when that is, and seeing how it all works out and showing us building off to this class of 2020.
It would have, when you were recruited, it would have certainly made you smile a little bit bigger than you coming into this, wouldn't it?
I mean, it made a little bit of a difference. But.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, God bless you. We appreciate all you do out in front of folks, and more importantly, what you do behind the scenes, because these guys are not veneer. They're real wood all the way to the core, and they are part of what makes this a special place. We'll be back with some closing comments right after this.
Craig Rucker, wide receiver. You're watching Live Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Tim Clifton Show. Stuart, Jolley along with Tim. Some closing thoughts for the season. It's been fun. We get together each week and do this, and we hope you've enjoyed as we've shared some just terrific young people that are part of the Lion family here. You're the guy that does the hard work. You're the head coach. You've been in this role 27 seasons. What are your thoughts on the season, Coach?
Well, I thought our kids played hard. I thought we competed every week. You just hate to have a few of those injuries. Injuries is part of football, and the really successful seasons that we've had here. Somehow the injury bug didn't get you. It wasn't involved in it, but I thought our kids played extremely hard. I thought our coaches did a great job of coaching, and I think what we have done is I think we've helped ourselves for next year. I think we have put ourselves where our guys can look at it and say, the three of these teams are in the playoffs. We can play with those three. We just got to have a really good year of recruiting, and we've got to fill some spots. We got some spots we got to fill, and they're specific this year that we got to get. So that's what we're working on right now, and it's always about going out and getting them. And this year will be the first year that we really recruited out of this building, which will help also. But we got a lot of work ahead of us in recruiting, and we challenged our players yesterday that over the recruiting process of January and February, that it's just like game week. They're here, they're helping us, and it's just like playing a game, and we've got to sell the positive of this university and how much it means to them and how much it means to us, and add to this family and bring some guys in here that'll really propel us to take that next step.
We've enjoyed being with you each and every week here at Mars Hill University. For Tim Clifton, I'm Stuart Jolley.
Thank you, Stuart.
Have a great recruiting off season.
We're going to go get it.
It'll be September. We'll be back again doing this again. Till then, so long for now.
MHU on three, 1, 2, 3.
MHU.